From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And now, two OHSAA Hall of Fame coaches who have cut so many pieces of sectional and district nets that they use them as dental floss. Your hosts, Doug and Dave Kraus.
Boy, oh boy, I like nets, but I don't use dental floss like that, that's for sure. That'd be a little bit too thick for what I need to use in my mouth. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I don't have Michael Strahan's front teeth, so I can't do that either.
Yep, that's for sure. But, hey, this is the girls' tournament draw was last weekend, and there's some interesting matchups that we see with the 7 divisions. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, that's for sure. What'd you see with some of the draws that you looked at, Dave, from the girls' side last weekend?
Well, actually, it doesn't really matter, the RPI or the old system of where we, seeded the teams and draw pills. Basically, what you see is pretty much true to form, meaning that the number 1 team goes in on a bracket and the number 2 team will go opposite. And after that, everybody typically jumps in with the bracket with the number 2 seed. And that's typically what we saw here this year across the board. So, the RPI and the number 1 seeds are cut and dry. But on a couple sites, there were some oddities. I won't say oddities in a bad way, it's just different, where somebody didn't jump in with the number 2 seed. One was in Division 6. I think we talked about this earlier. Opposite PH in that bracket. PH plays the winner of Hicksville in a sectional final game. Evergreen, number 4 seed, jumped in that lower part of that bracket. Typically, you would think that the 4 seed would jump in with the 2s and the 3s in the same bracket. But I think obviously what they wanted to do was what, Doug?
They wanted to play a home game, and so that was the only one left that they could get. And I'm guessing Coach Simbolin says, we want to stay home, and we'll do it. We'll go at it, and we'll win, and hopefully get a chance to play PH in the district semis.
I think exactly what her mentality was. So a second tournament bracket that kind of caught my eye a little bit was the Division 7 down here. There's a District 1, as Northwest Ohio refers to it. That's where Hilltop was the number 1 team, and rightly so. Troy Grimm's had an outstanding season. He and his Lady Cadets earned via the RPI the number 1 seed. Number 2 then was Fayette. But again, typically the number 2 seed goes opposite the number 1 seed in the lower bracket. In this case, Fayette will now play North Central in the same bracket as Hilltop. So that game would be potentially a first-round district game at Bryan, I believe they go. So,
yes, that's Bryan.
So that was interesting. And they played 2 times already in league, obviously, 1 non-league game. But that last game was played January 10th in North Central, Hilltop won that game by 6 points.
6 points,
yep. Interesting. The Fayette said, "Hey, let's go attack them."
I saw another one in that same district, number 3 seed Edgerton, and they matched up with the number 6 seed Pettisville. Now Pettisville had a couple chances to go, a couple other spots they could have gone to, but they chose to go against Edgerton. And what I thought was interesting is that they have. Pettisville did beat Edgerton during the season, 36-32. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to match up in the first game of the tournament. That's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. And just finally, real quick, jumping up to Division 4, the Wauseon Lady Indians, they're the 2nd seed. They'll be hosting Van Wert next week. But the other part of that bracket are 2 of our other teams. Napoleon, who was the 4th seed, will be at Bryan, the 3rd seed. So one of likelihood is that we'll have 2 teams from our immediate area potentially fighting it out at the district at Miller City to move on. And Napoleon's hot right now. They've won 6 in a row. So that's a team maybe that you need to look out for, the Lady Cats.
Yeah, and I think the Golden Bears from Todd Grosjean are playing pretty well too. So that should be an interesting matchup.
Yep.
Interesting matchup is at Archbold, where the number 3 seeded Blue Streaks at 16-5 are going to be hosting the number 4 seed Paulding at 15-5, and that will be a very good contest on the 13th of February.
Well, that's a really good recap of the girls' draw. And Doug, we're really excited about today's show. Tell our listeners who we are looking forward to hearing from.
Yeah, we have a couple of the coaches in the area. We have Mike Bumb from the Lady Locos from Montpelier, and we also have Kyle Bostater from the boys from Evergreen. They both have been doing a really good job this year with their squads. A couple senior spotlight individuals, Nova Okuley from Tinora, and Nicholas Stinner from Wauseon boys. So looking forward to those 2 young people. And then we have a VIP today, a very important person and a very interesting person, Jim Hoops, who is a state representative in the state of Ohio from Deschler, Ohio, and he's just a wealth of knowledge.
We begin this week, as usual, with our Coach's Corner, and this week's first guest coach is in person today with us. We welcome my longtime friend and fellow English teacher, Kyle Bostater.
Hey, Bo, welcome to the show. Appreciate having you over here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
It's our pleasure.
You betcha it is. Let's go right back to your history with the game and so forth. Bo, when did you actually start playing basketball?
Well, I remember being in a hay mow in Wayne, Ohio, out in Elmwood School
nice,
District.
Yeah.
Falling out of a hay mow before as well, playing some basketball. Not usually the safest place to be playing, but my older cousins introduced me to the game. My cousin Brian Asher, I played at Elmwood, was a very good player, and he always just kind of drug me along, and that's kind of where it started, and then it transferred out to my driveway at our house.
So there you go. And then you're at Delta there. You're 06 grad of Delta High School, and kind of lead us into them from Delta, where you went to, and then you got involved in coaching. Kind of give us a little background there.
Yeah, so I played in high school at Delta under Corey Sproul. Had some very good coaches. Had Corey Sproul and Nate Fox and Ryan Ripke and guys like that are all around the game. And
yeah.
so I got a lot of good learning experiences from those guys in high school. And then after that, I started coaching. It was my sophomore year of college. We had a assistant job with Ryan Ripke that I helped him coach a 7th grade team at Delta, and then I've been doing it ever since.
Well, I find it interesting that you went off to BG and then you get a call to come back and help coach. You're still a student at Bowling Green. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And how did that all come about? Sproul called you, Corey called you and say, hey, I got an opening?
Yeah, and so he wanted me to work under Ryan for a year, Coach Ripke, and kind of learn some things from that. And when you're a 20-year-old kid wondering if he's going to show up to practice every day. And so I think once I proved myself to him, we ended up I went with a 7th grade job as the head coach and worked with some guys that I coached later on when they played for me in high school.
And then eventually you became the head coach, moving up the ranks right at Delta initially, correct?
Correct. So I went from 7th grade coach to freshman coach to JV coach for a few years, and then eventually wound up as the varsity coach. And one of my assistants I have right now, Rami Mansour, we were talking about how I was his coach all 4 years of high school, and I apologized to him for that.
Yeah.
Well,
then, go ahead, Dave.
Well, no, I was just going to say, and then you went to Eden.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and then spent 2 years at Eden after my coaching stint at Delta. Was the athletic director, basketball coach, youth basketball coach, 7th and 8th grade English teacher, and I went home sometimes.
I understand that. And then from Eaton, then you went to Liberty Center.
Correct.
And you helped the Hopper out over there, Coach Badenhop.
Yep, I retired, I think, for 3 days. And I don't even know if it was 3 days or not. It might have been more like 3 hours. Told my wife, I said, I think I'm ready to take a break. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I go, I have no idea. And I think Badenhop got a hold of that information, and
Great.
I quickly got a phone call.
Well, so you've had 2 prior stints. You've been the man at both Delta and Eden, and took that little sabbatical with Liberty, and then all of a sudden this past summer you know, I don't know, get the urge again? What made you pursue the Evergreen job?
I think once you're a head coach, you always have that desire to get back in that head chair. I had a blast at Liberty Center the last 7 years, and so it was a very difficult decision. It was one that we kind of ruled out after a while as a family, just said, why change something that's working out so great? And Greg and his family treated me so well over there, and coaching with guys like Coach Rye, Coach Meyer, and Coach Hinton, and just a lot of good people around that program too, and the community took us in. But like I said, that desire, that itch it basically said, I think I did everything at Liberty Center I could do. And I said, I was ready for that next challenge again.
Well, you saw the whole gamut at Liberty there. They started and just kept on getting better and better and better, and they are definitely a load to go against nowadays.
Oh, for sure. And Greg's done a heck of a job with that program.
And now that takes you back to Evergreen, and you're found a long-time guy there that retired, and Coach Jerry Kiefer, and he had an unbelievable run over there, and now you're following him. How's that been?
It's been great as far as getting adapted to the community.
Yep.
I was very familiar with that school district.
Sure you were.
Lots of friends from there. My wife's a graduate from there.
Oh.
And it's one of those programs where basketball has always been something the kids have enjoyed there. It's always something that we've had high participation, and I didn't really have to rebuild anything. I just had to put my own mark on the program, and that's what we're trying to do now.
Well, you're doing a great job with it. And let's look at your team this year. You're coming right now as we stand here today, 12-7 overall. You're 3-2 in the league. You got a couple guys, Will Reitz and Troy Mans, that are really doing a really good job for you. But I know there's other guys too. Why don't you kind of give us some input about your team in general?
Yeah, I would say we've done a lot of great things this year. I know we're coming off of a tough setback last night against a good Eden team that, just to be frank, they outplayed us last night. And
that happens.
And that happens. I know you guys have been around there in that situation as well. But yeah, like you said, we've got a three-headed scoring monster up top. We've got George Allendorf, Troy Mans, and then we've got Will Reitz. That our guard play is really good. And then on top of that, we have another guard, John Herdman, that also can knock down shots and can handle the ball. And we've never even I think we're game 17. We haven't established a point guard yet. It's whoever gets the ball, just let's get down the floor and let's go.
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, and it obviously shows because you're scoring a lot of points. You're one of the leading teams in terms of offensive point production in the area, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And so as you jump into your summer, this past summer, as you take over the program, was that the style of play you envisioned, or did you say, I think we can do this with this group?
With that group in particular, because I had to do some research on what we had coming back, and they won a league championship in track. And so I think that was their first ever as a program, and all those guys are there. And we have a bunch of defensive backs and wide receivers from the football team, and they're fast. Mm-hmm. And so once you see that speed, I'm like, okay, I think we can get up and down the floor and play at a fast pace.
Well, that's great. I mean, and that's where you find out real quick in the summer, and obviously they've taken well to you as well. Bo, if I came to one of your practices, what am I going to expect to see as I come to your practice? I've never seen one of your practices before. What would I see?
We are constantly moving. Most of our drills are up and down, meaning we're not running just to run. That very rarely ever happens in the gym with us. Every single ball handling drill, every transition drill, every shooting drill, everything we do for the first half hour to 40 minutes is getting up and down the floor. Mm-hmm. And so they're conditioning, and they don't even know that they're doing it. And part of it is if you want to play at the pace that we want to play at, you've got to practice that. And so there's a lot of quick shots. There's a lot of transition. There's a lot of trying to create turnovers. And so we just move from drill to drill very quickly. We do a lot of skill development. Like we do guards and posts pretty much every day for the last 3 weeks. And I think today would be a good practice to hop into because we got some shell defense things to work on today.
I always like a little shell defense.
I love shell defense.
There we go. What about along the way as you were moving up the ladder? Was there any given maybe a piece of advice that somebody shared with you, Bo, that just is still there right now that you kind of rely on it? Any advice that somebody may have given you at one point?
A couple of them stand out right away just from Coach Fox that we actually just talked about this about 2 weeks ago was he gave me the line, you can get more with honey than you can with vinegar. This was This was shortly after one of my early exits of one of our basketball games we had this year. And
I understand about that. Yeah.
And I told him, I'm still working on practicing that one, but it's something that it stuck with me. But then another one that I know he's brought up before is you just want to surround yourself with good people when you're building a good program. And I know, Doug, you can attest to this with the guys like Coach Walker and Coach Kennedy and Coach Frank that you had in your program. That's what I'm trying to do with my program.
They were pretty helpful.
Absolutely. You gotta rely on those guys. And so that's what I'm trying to do is surround myself with guys that we can trust in the program, all the way from youth basketball, all the way up to fundraising things, all the way up to the high school level.
Well, that's great. And I would definitely concur on that. Dave came up with an old Scotland report about Delta basketball in 2006. And that was your senior season. And Dave, what does that say about Kyle?
Kyle is a very good player, but he likes to shoot a lot.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed, has it?
No, my buddies still remind me of that. I was like, I don't remember shooting that much. And they go, well, it's because you shot all the time.
Well, I remember that year profoundly because we went over to the Delta that year, and we were a pretty good team. In fact, that team, your junior year, we beat you at our place by 1 point. Mm-hmm. And then we go over to your place your senior year, and you absolutely dialed one on us. And those were two state teams back to back, 5 and 6 for us, and you absolutely dialed us. And I suppose you remember that.
Yeah, the overtime game's a heartbreaker still because I could have blocked David Borchard's shot that he drilled, I think, to send it into overtime, and we were right there. And I think we were up 3, and he was a lefty, brought it back behind his head a little bit, and I'm standing right there, but I didn't want to foul. And next thing you know, a couple months later, he's asking me if I want to room with him at BG, and it's funny how the world turns on that. But yeah, the one I remember though, I'll just chalk up the Valentine's Day massacre when we actually got one against Archbold on Valentine's Day. I still remember that one.
I remember it too. Boy, oh boy, that was a long ride home.
Yeah, I believe the end of the first quarter might have been 9-0. So I think that was the start.
Yeah, well, that's a good memory because I don't remember that, but I remember the ending, and it was like 14 or 15, and that was a good old butt kicking. And you know what? The good thing about it was you guys, you deserved to win, and then we got back at you a little payback in the tournament, so that worked out.
That's right. I think you guys won the one that mattered most in the sectional final. Yep.
Well, it's been fun, and Kyle, we sure appreciate you stopping in on your way back to Evergreen after your hard day at work at Fort County, and you keep doing your thing, man. We really root for you and wish you the best.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate all you guys do for Northwest Ohio basketball now. It's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You're
it's
welcome.
our pleasure.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you being on the program today. And also we appreciate our sponsors for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat at this time. D&G Welding of Archbold. You can call 445-5751 for D&G Welding. You can contact them for all your mobile welding needs. Innovatech Solutions with a K. Innovatech Solutions, that's in Archbold. You can get to them at innovatechsolutions.net, or you can call them at 419-445-8088. S&W Mills of Archbold. They're proud supporters of Archbold Blue Streaks and all area students and athletes. You can call S&W Mills of Archbold for all your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5206. Again, 445-5206. And BSN Sports. At BSN Sports, the job is making sports easier for coaches and players. They have all kinds of top-notch fan gear, personalized uniforms. They have everything that your team needs to succeed. Contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today. Take your game to the next level. BSN Sports, the heart of the game. Let's head back to the Coach's Corner.
Want to welcome head coach Mike Bumb to our Coach's Corner. Bummer, hey, appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. You had my daughter on last week, and she had a great time. That was her first radio experience, so looks like I got some really tough task to follow her.
Yeah, you got big shoes to fill, my friend. Hey, let's take a look at your Lady Locals. Just having a fantastic season, 15-5. You're 6-0. You're the BBC champions, which is getting old hat for you. 5 out of 6 years there, 3 outright, and you've only been there only 6 years. If my numbers are correct, you've had an unbelievable dynasty going there.
Well, I do appreciate you noticing that. And again, as you guys know more than anything, you win with good people. And 6 years ago, took the job at Montpelier, girls' job. Really, there was no other applicants. and I was an administrator here at the schoolhouse, and I had 2 girls at the time. My third one had already graduated, but I had 2 other girls that were going through the program. Jessie, who was going to be a sophomore, would have been a junior, and then Kelsey, who was just getting into junior high. And, talked to our superintendent at the time, Jamie Grimm, and he goes, listen, I don't have anybody. I'd had some background, obviously. I was mainly a football coach, and I did that for a head coach for 13 years and was an assistant at a few different stops, and then was a JV basketball coach for a few really good basketball coaches in Edgerton for Steve Lamberson. Then when I was at Hilltop with Jeremy Best and James Zachridge, and then did a lot of junior high basketball coaching as I was the head football coach. So really never had any, never thought I'd really be a head basketball coach. No real desire to do that. And then, fate, as fate would make it, they said, listen, we don't have anybody. I thought that, I didn't want to see my daughters go through and have a bad basketball experience. To be honest with you, Dave and Doug, I knew that, listen, we had some parts coming through that I thought if it was managed right, we could have a lot of success. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I'm going to tell you something. This has been the most enjoyable experience coaching. I had a great, let me back up. That's not 100%. Because I had a great time when I was at Hilltop. We had a couple playoff bursts when it was kind of difficult to do back in those days. And that was the first at the time. And that was a blast, about a 4 or 5 year stretch. And we were pretty good. That was a great time. And then this second stint, which I never envisioned me being a girls basketball coach, came out of the blue. And of course, success makes everything a lot more fun. But it's been a blessing. I've maybe slowed down a little bit, whereas, I don't know how to say this. Girls basketball right now is maybe where I need to be. I got 6 years to retire.
Yep, that's awesome.
And you know what I mean? And it's kind of where I need to be. I love it. We have kids, and I knew this going into it. So the deck was kind of stacked when I said yes. Not only did I think we had some parts there that were pretty good, they were great kids from great families, and that's everything. And so I knew they were going to be low maintenance, and it's kind of worked out that way.
Well, that's great. You know what, you just gave me the version that I was going to ask you first. Let's step forward then, and you get to the ladies hoops over there at Local Land, and obviously you're having just a great season. What's been the keys to your success this year for your lady locals?
Well, I mean, the obvious stuff that you'll hear from everybody, you got to have good players. But here's the deal with this year's team. If you'd watch us, we've won 15 games this year, and you guys know better than anybody. It's hard to win. It may be the hardest sport to win games in. It's basketball. And I say that because you have so many different transactions of the ball. You have a good shooting night. You have a kid who's sick, which is another thing I could talk to you about. We got the flu going through us right now, like you wouldn't believe. You got stops and goes with holidays. You've got all of these things. It's a long season.
It sure is.
I think winning consistently in basketball, as somebody who's coached a lot of sports, I think it's the toughest thing to do. I'll tell you about this team. We've lost 5 games. 2 of those games over the holiday. We may have lost them anyway, but I'm going to give you a kind of even though I tell our kids no excuses, I'm just going to give you a little background. 2 of those losses, our best player was sick. We lost the 3rd game of the season to Delta on a last-second shot when we actually blew a defensive coverage. And I think they've lost 2 games this year. There's 3 of them. With one of those games over the holiday break when our best player was sick, we lost at the buzzer. We lost another game with Hilltop the first time we played them, like in the last 4 or 5 seconds when they scored to go up. And then we played Tinora a week or so ago, and we have 3 of our kids that have been sick. I mean, we got to be the sickest team in Northwest Ohio, by the way. We're sick every other day, it seems like. But we've lost 5 games. I can say that now it's the end of the season, right? We can make excuses here at the end of the season, but we've lost 5 games that I'm going to tell you, I don't think we were at our best. How's that? Well, we may have lost them anyway.
That's fair. Sure.
But if you watch our team,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I just want to make this comment real quick. If you watch our team, we've got a lot of deficiencies. This kid maybe doesn't score very well. This kid doesn't dribble very well. Whatever. But I'll tell you something about our kids. They know how to win. They really do know how to win. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Absolutely. It's a great trait to have for any team. But, hey, talk about playing with some winners. You talked about some of these guys you coached with and learned from Lambeau and Jeremy Best and James Ackridge. Give me something maybe you took from them that you still have instilled in your program.
Yeah, great question. Long time ago. I'll do my best to try to remember because both of those were early 2000s, late 90s kind of thing. I thought, let me just go backwards. I could maybe remember a little bit. I thought James Ackridge was a very good X's and O's coach. I think he knew his X's and O's as well as anybody. And I think all three of them, you kind of learned schematics. All three of them were very different in personalities. Ackridge was probably more of a player's coach. Lambeau was just starting off there, and I think he was more of a disciplinarian. And then Jeremy was probably somewhere in between. And, of course, Jeremy went on to win a couple state championships down there in Crestview. So I think nothing really unique about all three of them, although they had different personalities. Mm-hmm. And, you always take, and I can't really give you an example of exactly what, but a lot of things. And listen, I learned from everybody. I learned from junior high coaches. I learned from youth league coaches. I learned from college coaches. I learned from old coaches like you guys. I listen. And that's one thing I will say about myself is I listen. I know I don't have all the answers, and I want guys that, have knowledge. I want to surround myself with people that have more knowledge than me.
There you go.
And just kind of pick their brain. And like Bear Bryant used to say, I've never had an original idea in my life. I'll just take yours. Those kind of things.
Well, we all do.
We all can steal with the best. Mike, talk about, you mentioned the daughters that you've been fortunate enough to coach. How's that experience been?
It's been everything. Better than I'd ever hoped. I think Jessica, my middle one, she's kind of more of a basketball junkie. And that was her main sport. She played all the sports, but basketball she excelled in. And Kelsey, I think, is more of a well-rounded all-three sport person. Kelsey's probably more athletic. But, if you ask Kelsey, whatever season she's in, she likes that sport the best. Mm-hmm. But it's been everything. When you've got daughters, it's the one thing that maybe we have in common, or I wouldn't say the one thing, but basketball is something that binds us and something that we can have in common. I don't like to go shopping. I'm not going to watch the Kardashians on TV with them. Those kind of things that I kind of fall short with. I don't like to hear about the gossip at the school or the boyfriends. It does not interest me. But basketball is something that I've been able to be around them and spend quality time with them. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
Well, you ought to be. That's awesome. And, we both concur on that. We had the opportunity to coach our own sons. And Bummer, it's been great. Our time has really flashed by here. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And we want to wish you and your Lady Locals continued success. Your tournament's coming up, and we wish you the best there. And get a nice, long, extended run there if you can.
Yeah, I hope so. We're in Division 6 this year. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, and got a really good Ottawa Hills team that we have to play. Yep. So we're going to have to be playing really well to get a win there. But we're capable of doing it. We'll see what happens.
Okay, well, we wish you the best, Mike.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for your
time. Take care, yep.
Okay, once again, we thank our sponsors for this hour program. D&G Welding of Archbold, 445-5751 for D&G Welding. Innovatech Solutions with a K, innovatechsolutions.net or 445-8088 to contact them. S&W Mills of Archbold, call them at 419-445-5206. That's S&W Mills. And BSN Sports, contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today and take your game to the next level with BSN Sports, our sponsors for the hour program of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And next we head to the Seniors Spotlight.
Hey, we want to welcome to the Hoop Chat as part of our Senior Spotlight, Tinora Lady Ram Nova Okuley. Nova, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And And truly, as you got one more game to go as part of your regular season, and you've had a few losses, but in a great majority of those losses, boy, you guys have been right there. So, talk about your season and how would you describe that?
Yeah, I would describe our season as a season of ups and downs, but we've stuck positive through it. We had a lot of close games, and those losses have really drove us to succeed, and we've come out with a couple wins recently. So, yeah, those losses definitely taught us a lot.
And, as you wrap this up and, your season and have hopefully a long second season as part of the tournament run, what's one thing you're going to miss about playing with this group?
I'm just going to miss the family aspect of it a lot. We're just a great group of girls, and we all get along, and I love having fun with this group, so I'm really going to miss them.
Well, that's great, Nova. Having a bunch of young ladies that you're friends with and enjoy playing with, that's awesome. Let's go back though, Nova. Let's go back to when you were young and when you started playing sports in general. What and who got you interested in playing?
It was really my dad. He introduced me to multiple sports, and basketball really stuck with me, and he put in the time in the driveway and teach me all the basics, and he's really the one who taught me everything.
That's great. And you know what? He did a pretty good job because here recently, last week, you just scored your 1,000th point in your career. And I'll tell you what, that's just a great accomplishment, Nova. Let's look at that. What's some of the factors in your mind that helped you reach that mark?
A lot of it was all the coaches that I've ever had, starting from when I was little. They instilled in me the fundamentals that allowed me to succeed. And my current coaches as well have taught me a lot. And also my teammates, all of my teammates I've ever had, they allowed me to achieve this, and I couldn't have done it without them.
Well, that's great. There's no doubt. It's kind of hard to be 1-on-5 in basketball. You got to have some teammates that are certainly helpful, and obviously they did. How about this? I understand you run track in the spring, correct?
Yes.
Well, let me ask this. What event or events do you do in track?
I do high jump, the 4x8, the 4x4, and any other random events that I would do.
Okay, well, the reason I asked that question like that, when you do run track and you do your high jump, that's you individually. That's not any teammate helping you out. Now, a 4x4 might be some teammates involved, but do you like the individual part of that where you're just competing against other competitors out there?
Yes, I really like that. It can be hard at times, but it really psychs me up and it makes me more motivated because it's only me doing it for myself. So it really motivates me to push myself.
Mm-hmm. So, Nova, if we were to corner Coach Theo and ask him, hey, describe Nova's style of play, how would he describe you?
I think he would describe me as quick and a shooter. I'm definitely known for my offense. He would definitely say that it's my offense more than my defense, but I think he would describe me as a quick and more of a shooter.
Okay. And if I did this correctly, you do wear number 23. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, so what's the significance of you wearing that number, if any?
When I was very little, I liked LeBron when he was on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and me and my best friend, we wanted to be number 22 and number 23, and I picked that probably in second grade, and I don't think I could ever change it.
That's great.
There you go.
What about any special pregame ritual or anything that you or your team have to do on game day?
Sometimes we have our pregame dance party. We get the ball girls in there, and we'll play a song. We'll have a little dance, get the nerves out, and then we're ready to go.
That's right. And what are you the ringleader of that?
Yeah, I started it sophomore year, and sometimes the ball girls get in there too, but most of the time it's mainly me.
If you're not running track and or shooting hoops and getting it with your team, what do you do away from the court? What are some of your interests?
I like to read, and I like to hang out with my friends. I like to eat, of course. I like going out to eat and just spending time with family.
Well, that's great. I think those are pretty good common teenager things. I have a question. In the GMC and around the area, who are some of the competitors that you have gone against that you really have enjoyed in your career at Tinora?
Player-wise or
Yeah.
team-wise?
Well, both. How about
Okay, yeah.
as individual player and or teams?
Wayne Trace has been very good as a team, and they have the twins and as well as Lexi Moore, and I really enjoyed playing against them because they were tough competition and they were nice as well. And I also love playing against Libby Baker. She's an amazing player and she's an amazing person as well.
Yeah, and I know another young lady from the area, Carolyn Roars, just got her 1,000th point also. That you've competed against her.
Yes, I have. I actually played with her in a club season, and she's an amazing person as well. I'm so happy for her.
Well, that's awesome, and I know as you have gone against these other teams and so forth, it makes a lot of fun, doesn't it? Where you know these young ladies and girls, and you just want to compete. And of course, when you're on the floor, you want to beat them, and they want to beat you. That's what's great about sports.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to miss that aspect of it.
If you went back and like your 9th grade year and looking at your growth as a player, where do you think you have improved the most to now?
I think I've improved a lot on confidence and keeping a level head. I definitely was a little crazy as a freshman. I was all over the place, but I think I've matured a lot. And I also think that my defense has improved because like as I said, people mostly see me as an offensive player, but I've worked a lot, so I'm not one-dimensional at things.
Well, that's great. We both like young athletes who can play both ends. That's for sure. How about this? You're going to graduate from Tinora High School sometime in the spring. What's your future plans hold for Nova Okuley?
My future plans are to attend The Ohio State University and to major in nursing.
Oh, very good.
That's great. You got any dreams to go with that nursing?
I might go to med school and become a doctor, but right now the goal is nursing.
Oh, that's great. And we certainly wish you the best on that. And you know what, Nova, we also just thank you for joining us this afternoon and wish you and your Rams the best as you can finish this season and into the tournament.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Want to welcome Wauseon Senior Nicholas Stinner to our Senior Spotlight. Nicholas, how are we doing this afternoon over there in Wauseon?
Pretty good. Just got out of school, waiting for practice to start.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we caught you between school and practice. Nicholas, your team has about a 500 record, 8-9. But the one thing I tell people about that 500 8-9 record is you have played a heck of a schedule. Your strength of schedule is as good as anybody's in the entire area. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we play tough teams, probably toughest in our league, and it's hard to win games.
Well, you know what? That doesn't hurt you. I mean, you don't like losing some ball games here and there, but I'll tell you, your record is, to me, you've played some really good teams, really, really tough. I know that Perrysburg game had to be an amazing contest.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, but we fought through everything, and it was just a great game for us.
Well, it was, and you know what? You learn a lot from things like that. But you know what? You're coming through now after first 17 games. They got 16 points a game, 8 rebounds. That's really, really impressive, and that's very impressive. But what's more impressive, as we sit here, you, me, and my brother Dave, we're all twins. We all have something in common, which is kind of neat for us with having you on as a twin. What's it been like for you having your brother Nathaniel banging around with all the time as you're growing up and everything? I know my brother and I, we went at each other pretty good. How about you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome playing with my twin brother for my final year, because it's we've been practicing playing against each other since we were little, and it's just great knowing that we can play with each other our final time this year.
Well, the one thing, Nicholas, that we know is that you're in a program that is headed by a well-established veteran coach and Coach Chad Bird. So what's it like been playing for Coach Bird over all these years?
It's great because he's been through this. He's been through to the state finals and state playoffs for many years. And it's just great because he has so much knowledge of everything. It just helps us grow as a team and as a person in general.
I like the fact that he's one of the few guys up and down the sidelines, still wearing a shirt and tie, looking dapper. So that's got to be impressive. I like that. Hey, what if we asked Coach Bird about your style and the way you play, Nicholas? What would he say about your game?
I think he was say I'm a control player. I take good shots and I don't force anything. But if I do, he'll coach me I'm coachable, and he can teach me many things that he'll understand it.
Well, I'm sure you're right on that, Nicholas. The one thing that as I look back at the years of Wauseon basketball, I mean, there's been some really good teams and players, as you mentioned, Coach Burr has had and so forth. How about as you're sitting back as a young Indian fan watching these teams, did you have a favorite player that you watched and you kind of said, boy, I'd like to be like him?
Yeah, Austin Rotroff. I like watching him.
Well, that's a good start right there. That's a pretty daggone good start because he kicked our butt every night out.
Likewise.
Oh boy, that's. Do you get run into Austin every now and then? Do you?
Yeah, I worked with him a few times in the summer, and a few times, and we worked with him earlier this year in practice one time.
Well, I'll tell you what, yeah, that's a good guy to learn from. What a nice player he was, and what a nice young man he was too. He is. So that was awesome. One of the things that I always kind of chuckle at with Coach Burt is, I know over Christmas time you guys practice, and he's got a thing about Christmas time. I see some videos of you guys at Christmas time running Michigans, running sprints up and down the court. And he's got you singing Christmas carols. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask this. Are you the leader of that? Are you the director of the songs, or do you pick up songs? How's that work?
Oh, we decide as a team, and we just choose one song, and if we know it, then we'll sing it.
Well, what's your favorite one then? What's one you like to vote on?
Probably Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
That'd be mine too. I could do that one.
Yeah, it makes sense that Wauseon would have
Coach
something
Burt,
red.
Yeah, sure. Does Coach Burt get involved too? Does he sing along?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't run either, does he?
No.
Unbelievable.
Well, let's talk about your game a little bit. You've really developed a really good shooting touch. What things have you done to make that part of your game?
During when I'm working on it, I do game time situations, to work on my control and don't force it, but also work on it trying to just improve my touch and just shoot shots I would normally take.
Okay, and you also wear jersey number 21. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why that you've chose that particular number?
I wear it for my grandpa. He passed away a few years ago, and that was his number, so I wear that, and also because he was born on the 21st of March, so I just wear that also.
Well, that's a nice memory and a good way to honor him. What about is there a particular game day ritual or song that we just got to play in the locker room, or something that hypes you up, or something you have to do every game?
Not really. I literally just stretch and just listen to whatever my team's playing. That's normally it.
Well, Nicholas, you have a kind of a big game coming up this Friday. It's a home game with a team in your area called Archbold, and it's always a huge rivalry. Would you agree that you always look forward to playing the Streaks? Would that be something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, because Archbold is such a good team, and we've been going at it for so many years, and it's just a great game, and the atmosphere is normally good.
Well, I guarantee you, Friday night, the place over there, the Wigwam's going to be jumping, and we're looking forward to that. So, Nicholas, real quick, when you graduate from Wauseon next spring, what's your future plans hold for Nicholas Stinner?
Probably gonna go to college somewhere and just major in something with sports. I still haven't decided if I'm playing basketball in college, so I still have to decide that.
Well, that's really good, and we certainly wish you the best. We also wish your Indians all the best as you finish this season and go into the tournament. Nicholas, so we'll go close this up. Just thank you a lot for spending time with us on the Hoop Chat, and wish you the best.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You bet.
You take care. Bye now.
Let's thank our sponsors, D&G Welding of Archbold, 445-5751 to contact D&G Welding for all your welding needs. Innova Tech Solutions, your trusted technology partner. You can get them at 419-445-8088 or innovatechsolutions.net. S&W Mills of Archbold, contact them in Archbold at 419-445-5206 for all your animal bedding needs. And BSN Sports. The job for BSN Sports is making jobs easier for coaches and players with top-notch fan gear and personalized uniforms. You can contact Jim Garris, Rob Welch, or Rob Held today for BSN Sports. Thanks to our sponsors. And now it's time for the VIP segment of our program.
Hey, we want to welcome the Honorable James Hoops to the VIP segment of the show. Obviously, if it's honorable, it's VIP.
Oh, no doubt.
VIP worthy for sure. But hey, Jim, really thanks for joining us today. Really happy to have you.
Hey, thanks for the asking, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll bring back some good memories.
That's the plan. Well, let's just kind of get into this, really on the local level. Lots of people and our loyal listeners certainly know of Jim Hoops. You're the current representative in the Ohio General Assembly. And just to remind people, most likely in our area, 77% of you voted for him this past November. So you pretty much all know who he is. But, hey, let's get into this. We're not here to dive into the issues of the state. We're really here to talk about a lot more important things than that. So
that's right. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, doke. So let's just start right back in the beginning. You're a 1977 Patrick Henry grad, a Deshler young man, and back when you graduated in 77, you earned All-Ohio first-team honors. Take us back to then. What were some of your memories of your Patrick Henry playing days?
Well, it was just a good time, Dave and Doug. PH, the basketball and football was doing well. In fact, all the sports were doing well, and that's what I love seeing in today's sports at PH. That you just have a lot of good kids, men and women, who are competing, and even the league too. We had a strong league back then, and now we were in the NBL league, the Northern Border League, and now you're in the NWAL. But had a lot of great rivalries. Archbold being one of them. I mean, I always share with people that Archbold was my number one rivalry, because when we were it was a 7th grade basketball game. Not that I remember it at all. It was a Saturday morning. It was the tournament when they held it at Napoleon
the pit
schools, and they ended up beating us like 80-30 in a 7th grade basketball game. And I just remember sitting there. I was not happy. And ever since then, you had the Mooney Millers and the Curtis Spots. And I mean, it was just, we became friends, and it was just a rivalry throughout the next 7-8 years. And, Dave Beneke, he was a couple years younger than me, but he's my first cousin. So of course we talked basketball, and it was just a lot of good times back then. And just have a lot of fond memories, growing up in the Deshler area, and, even with you two, because I can still remember being in 6th grade, and you were the 6th grade coaches, and we had the Saturday, and you guys were help coach the teams, and that was pretty neat too, because we had our games on Saturday, but then we had one game or one event where we were playing at halftime of reserve and varsity games, being out in front of the fans, and just a great memory.
Yeah. Well, we both, all three of us certainly played for a Hall of Fame coach, somebody we have a lot of respect and admiration for. What do you remember about playing for Coach Kick specifically?
I'd do anything he asked me to do. I mean, he was just a quality guy. And, when he left my junior year, I was just devastated. And, we had a good coach, Dennis Wright, my senior year, but when Steve Kick left, I think I went to the locker room and cried because he was just such a great guy. And, he went on to be successful and coaching at other places, but I wish he would have stuck around for a couple more years. And, so it's just, like you said, he's coached, in the Hall of Fame, and just quality guy. I can just picture him with his toothpick and his red, sports coat, and he, then you had Lynn Martin too. He became a great coach. So when you look at the coaches we had at Patrick Henry, back when the school opened, you had Steve Kick and Lynn Martin, and then Gerald Parrott,
Bob Barley in football.
And Bob Barley in football. And, even Coach Barley even asked me my senior year if I would be interested in playing football. And I've always thought, I wonder what I could have done playing football. And I even had when I was done with my collegiate 4 years of basketball, I even got a letter from the Dallas Cowboys.
They need a new mascot or what?
Yeah, that's about right. Asking if I'd be interested in trying out, whatever their process was. And I never did send that in, but I found the letter like a couple years ago, and I said, what would happen if I sent that in?
I'd be framing that.
You could be Jimmy Jones' right-hand man right now.
That's right. Yes. So, I mean, it's, so just a lot of good men, a lot of great coaches, people that I was just very fortunate to have, really good people.
Yeah.
Just kind of bringing me along.
Absolutely. So, we're blessed with that group of guys for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
I read a biography of you, and it talked about your high school playing days and the fact that you were obviously a standout in basketball, but you stood out in cross country and baseball. Well, I had to laugh at that because you're 6'5". You're going to stand out wherever you're going to be at. So, but okay.
Well, I ran cross country, and that was when it was only 2 miles.
Yeah.
So, today it's 3.1, and I ran because, again, Coach Kick said, "Hey, you need to be doing something," and I wanted to kind of stick with the basketball, and so cross country it was, and we ended up going to state my senior year. Unfortunately, I had some health issues, so I didn't get to run in it. But if you look up on the wall in the gymnasium, you'll look up there, and there will be 1 year boys cross country where we won the NBL league. And we weren't even, we weren't expected to even finish in the, I think, top 4 or 5, but we ended up, everything just clicked. And we had a great day that day, and ended up winning the league that year. So when you go in, you have to look at it. And in fact, that's even more of a, that I remember more because it was something that was unexpected.
Yeah.
And and then baseball, had a great, time with that. And in fact, I held the base hit record, and I didn't even know I had the record until Dave Kleck called me one day and said, "Hey, do you know your record is probably going to be broken in baseball and in base hits?" And I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, "Yeah, this young kid named Mark Krause is going to break your record." So funny. I said, "Hey."
Okay,
he went on to
I can't believe he was better than you. That's hard to believe he was better than you.
Hey, well, let's move forward then. So, obviously out of high school, you had some recruitment, but interesting is how does a young man from rural Henry County, Ohio, find himself down in the deep South at Natchitoches, Louisiana, at Northwestern State? How did that all happen?
Oh, it was, in fact, Coach Kick, he got me onto a camp, a 5-star camp, and it was a camp where players from all over the country went, and it was down in West Virginia. And, so we got to play against some just high school players from around the the country, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I had a good team. We ended up winning the tournament there, and that's where coaches, you know, saw me play. So I had a chance to, you know, and that's where a coach by the name of Ralph Pym saw me playing there, and he invited me down to Northwest State, Louisiana. In fact, it got me a couple trips. I had a chance. I went to West Point, and because Coach K, you know, who ended up at Duke, was recruiting me to play at West Point, and almost went there, but it didn't work out. And I went, you know, I visited a couple other schools, but I ended up going south because I think it was because I took a trip during January, and it was nice and sunny down there, and it was cold, freezing cold up in Northwest Ohio. And I said, hey, this is the place I need to be. In fact, I missed the storm of 78 when all the snow came up in our area, and I was down I remember in Texas, we were playing a team there, and ended up, I didn't even know what was going on up there. I tried to call my parents and couldn't get a hold of them. And then I watched TV, and national news was that Ohio was shut down because of the big storm of 78. So, but it was great down there. The coaches, our first game was against Las Vegas, and we came up and played Ohio State when they had Herb Williams and Carter Scott and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And this really, you know, the coaches were great down there. And, you know, and then my brother Mike, he ended up going down there too. And, you know, and then the unfortunate thing of having an unknown heart problem. And, you know, that was, and the people down there just, you know, surrounded me and supported me during that tough time. And I'll never forget that. So it was just,
sure.
So then then the career, I had a chance to try out with a team called Athletes in Action. So from Louisiana, I went up to British Columbia, Canada for 3 years and played with AIA. And again, it was just the opportunity to play against, you know, back then the AIA played a lot of the games.
Like
where we were
colleges,
yeah, we were the exhibition game. So like for one trip, we played Duke and Maryland, Wake Forest, Michigan, Clemson, Louisville, Arizona State, Oregon State. And in fact, I had to guard, when we played Oregon State, I was the one that guarded AC Green, who went on to play with the Lakers. We actually beat them by 1 point too. So that was pretty neat. So, I mean, basketball has been very good to me. You know, I had an opportunity to travel around the world and see, because we played when I was with AIA, we played the Chinese national team over in China.
Wow.
And, you know, and just some other national teams, you know, played all over Canada and United States. And I mean, I just got to see the world, and, you know, and I just owe it all to the coaches and the people in Deschler and the Patrick Henry district and surrounding area that prepared me to do things like that.
Well,
so I'm happy. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, basketball certainly has taken you a long, long way. I just want to touch base with you about a roommate you had down there at Northwestern State. A gentleman by the name of Mike Bray. You know, basketball fans would recognize that name as the head coach at Notre Dame for a number of years. Coach Bray now is with the Atlantic Hawks.
Right, that's
tell me
correct.
about, you know, what I always thought was interesting. Here, how colleges can bring guys together. Here's this kid from the rural Deschler, Ohio, from an unbelievable super program, Patrick Henry High School, joining forces with a young man from the city of Washington, D.C., who came from some well-known basketball factory called DeMatha High, coached by probably the top coach in America, Morgan Wooten. And here you two guys joined together down in Nakakachis, you know, so it's unbelievable. So talk about Mike Bray and that relationship.
Oh, great. And you're right. He came from a school because their claim to fame is they beat then Lou Alcindor.
That's right.
When they played against them. And he always told the story that they used tennis rackets during practice. So people learned to shoot over, the outstretched hands of Jabbar. And but yeah, Mike was my roommate for 3 years, because when our coach was released, Tynes Hildebrand, who was a great guy, I stayed my 4th year, but Mike went on to play at a school in
George Washington.
George Washington. Yep. And then we kind of got back together again. We became a all-star team. He collected some people. We went over to Ireland and played in a tournament over there. And I think a lot of people thought we were the professional players, being from the United States. Yeah. And it was a good time. Wow. Ireland's a beautiful area, but it's just, 3 years though with him is, I was more of the conservative type, and he was always, doing things, but I still remember him, I'd come into our dorm room and he'd have a notebook there and you could see where he was drawing up plays already, because he actually went back, when he got done with George Washington, he went back to be an assistant under Morgan Wooden at the Matha. Okay. And that was a time when they had Danny Ferry. Wow. And the coach, Coach K, who I almost went to West Point, was coaching there, and Mike got to know him. And then Mike became an assistant at Duke, and he was there for 4 years. And every year is when they went to the Final Four. And then he ended up in Delaware University, and then he got the job at Notre Dame. And and he every time I went to the Duke game, because they'd play Duke, they'd beat Duke. So I told him, you got to keep giving me some tickets so we continue to beat Duke. Well, so it was great.
I got to know Coach Bray a little bit over the years, and told him of the relationship have this Destler kid. I'm from the same town as your roommate Jim Hoops, and he'd laugh. And I said, but his found memory though was, man, we could not wait until the Destler flag came weekly into our dorm room, so we could catch up on all the Destler flag news. And he laughed about that, and how he was always on top of the Destler flag news. So
that's right. Yeah. Awesome. We had to give him some good news. So, and that was always, and I couldn't wait for it either, because that's where you found out what was going on. So.
Jim, it's been a pleasure catching up. We could go on and on and on, but our time has come to an end. So we're going to have to cut this off. But hey, really appreciate you taking the time, carving us out some time of your valuable schedule, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Well, thanks for the invite, and thanks for what you two have done over the years with young men and women, and they're now leaders somewhere but it's just because they went through your training and your coaching. I appreciate what you've done up in Northwest Ohio.
Well,
so thank you.
Appreciate that. You take care.
Well, that's the final buzzer. Time for your final thoughts on this weekend's basketball action and leading into next week's girls' tournaments.
Well, we already have some of the league championships already decided. In the GMC girls, Wayne Trace Lady Raiders are the league champs, undefeated, and have one more league game to go. But they're already called champs. BBC Montpelier Lady Locals is the same thing. They also are the league champs. In the NWAL girls, the Patrick Henry Patriots are in pretty good spot. They only have one league loss, but they have a huge game tomorrow with the Delta Lady Panthers, and they only have one league loss as well. So if Delta would pull the big win tomorrow at home, they would title tie with the two of them. That's a huge situation there for those two teams. Looking at the boys' side, the BBC is interesting. They have 3 teams with 4-1 records. They've all beat each other. Pettisville tomorrow or Friday has a big game going to Stryker, and that will be a huge game for Pettisville to stay the course as far as the league. Montpelier is home with North Central, and Eden is home with Fayette. So those 3 teams are going to keep on battling there. The GMC boys, you have Tinora and Paulding, who are kind of leading the pack. At Tinora at 5-0, needs another win to get a title tie. They're going to Hicksville Friday, and Paulding Panthers are 4-1, and they're right there. They have Fairview at home. And then what's interesting about those two, if they continue to win, they play each other head-to-head the following week. That should be really fun. And the NWAL boys, PH has had a great season, 17-0, and they won the title already, a tie, and they need one more win to wrap it up. So that's pretty much what we have.
All right, some fascinating finishes to the season. That BBC three-way tie logjam situation in boys hoops looks really interesting, as you mentioned. As you and I are going to be on, we'll have broadcasts on WMTR 3 nights in a row. We're going to have the Wauseon and Archbold girls at the Thunderdome. Then we'll have the same thing over in boys action at Wauseon.
And those are always fun, aren't they?
Always great rivalries they will be. We'll be on 96.1 for both of those. And then on Saturday night, weather permitting, we'll have Napoleon at the Thunderdome in boys basketball hoop.
And there's also a reunion of the 2005 state team from Archbold that night. So that's always looking forward to a reunion of those young men.
Very good. And I'll promote once again that Archcom Media, Archbold Communications Class Media, has a podcast episode on that 2005 team. You were part of that, Kraus. They interviewed you for that one. Madden Valentine put it together. You can find that on YouTube. I invite you to listen to that one. We also invite you to drop us a line at Hoop Chat. So NWOH Hoop Chat on X or NW Ohio Hoop Chat at gmail.com. You can contact us. Thanks to all of our listeners for joining us once again for this week's edition of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. And thanks to our sponsors, D&G Welding, Innovatech Solutions, S&W Mills, and BSN Sports. This has been a production of WMTR Sports. For Doug and Dave Krause, I'm producer Ryan Throne, and we'll see you courtside.